Welcome to TBI Tuesday. See,
I was getting ready to help you with that if needed.
yeah, I kind of forgot what day it was. Oopsie. So, welcome, and
We're glad you're here.
we're
glad we're here.
Yes, we're glad we're here, and well, today we figured we would talk about. Oh yeah. Sorry, see, I already forgot again. But recreating yourself again. And nothing.
Crickets.
Yep. Well,
Oh, it's my turn.
from you. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I chose the topic, and it kind of is a recreating yourself again, but what made me think about it was oftentimes I'll see Aubrey looking over pictures from her life before her accident. And it always concerns me that she thinks that she's not, that you lost a lot of your identity or a lot of who you were after your accident. Because just prior to your accident, you had recreated yourself completely.
Yep. So, yeah, that's why we did recreating yourself again. So,
do a recap of what you had accomplished prior to your accident.
Well, just to tell you the thing that started this, this lady, the first person I talked to with TBI, I was so inspired to talk to her and be like, what do you do? So, and I should say maybe I should take a step back and not be like, but I was expecting all this knowledge and wisdom to just pour out, and I was like, oh. But then I was like, she said, yeah, recreate yourself, and I'm like, I just did that. But so it was very much one of those moments. I was like, but she didn't know that because, okay, so what I had done ish, we'll say, what is it, 2 years
Prior
to my accident.
Which was, the accident was in 2016.
Correct. So actually it was a year and a half, but anyways, so I had always been, how should we say, overweight. Basically, I ate my feelings. So anyways, but I had always been pretty good at tech, and I loved getting in there and fixing computers and stuff, and even got to where I worked at my favorite computer shop. And I'm like, dude, I was awesome fixing iPhones, iPads, all the time. I mean, I was on it. The pay, not so well. But anyways, I was in it, and I was very, very happy about it. But, so, finally,
Well, you lost a lot of weight.
Well, yeah, so something happened. Oh, yeah, and it was medical stuff, and basically I was gonna die, and if I didn't change something, and I'm like, ooh.
Well, there was the potential to die. High blood pressure or...
Yeah, well, high blood pressure and a couple, a bunch of stuff, and I was like, oh, gosh, I had to do something, and so, thankfully, I found this thing, and a weight loss thing, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna try it. Everything's always what failed. I failed. Nothing's worked. And I'm like, but, oh, this actually kind of worked. And I lost 160 pounds.
Pretty nice.
So, yeah, I just hit right over 300. I was like, ooh. So,
So that in itself was recreating yourself.
Yeah, so after that, I was like, well, after I lost 60 pounds, 100, I was like, I can do anything. So, and it's funny because I was like, what do I do? For a real job. Well, I say real job. I just need to make some extra money. But I was like, what do I do? And I'm like, well, like I said, I was always into tech and I always wanted to work on it, but I heard to be a software engineer or something, you had to be really good at math. And I was like, I don't think I'm good at math. But who knows if I was and didn't apply myself or anyways. But somebody said, no, you don't, just do it. And I'm like, okay.
So what did you do?
I was very thankful. I was in a really good place in Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. And there was a software boot camp starting up very soon. And I got accepted and I got everything lined up and I was able to do it. And oh, wait. It was, 6 months long. And then I learned. And the CEO founder from the first company I worked at had visited our thing, and he didn't hire me on the spot, but I got a job at the company, and I'm like, oh, okay, so became a software engineer and got to
Moved to San Francisco.
to San Francisco. Yeah, I'm like, from a little southern girl, I'm like, ish.
So you had completely changed your life. You had been a coffee barista.
Yeah. So making coffee, love my coffee.
And then lost 160 pounds.
Yes.
Became a software engineer.
Yeah.
Moved to San Francisco. Started cycling.
Oh, yeah. And so that's when I started really into cycling because I'd always heard it was good for you and all that. But I think more than anything, I just got to San Francisco and I'm like, there's a bunch of white dudes.
In tech.
And I'm like, awesome. But I was like, wanted to meet people, and thankfully I heard about like A's Life Cycle. It's a bicycle ride from San Francisco to LA, and it's like a bunch of people, like 3,000. But it's so awesome and caring, and they're very supportive. And I was like, all right, well, here we go. I'm going to go for it. And I'm like, it definitely, how should I say it, like floored me. I was like, and it was funny. I had just gotten into it. Like my first ride was on Halloween. And it was funny because they all were doing dress up. So,
Halloween 2015, correct?
Yes. So, I mean, it was kind of one of those, how do you say it? Like, I'm nervous. Oh, and like you're supposed to wear spandex. I'm like, oh, this is kind of nuts. And I was like, what do? I don't really know anybody here.
But you met a lot of good friends.
Yeah, but
and you were riding every weekend. You had
Correct.
a great job. You had a brand new life, and it was everything that you had worked for and you had created for yourself.
yeah.
And then February, what day on February?
February 13th.
Was your bicycle
The
accident.
day before Valentine's Day and 4 days after my birthday. I hadn't even got to drink my whiskey yet.
So everything you had built and everything you created
Yeah,
was taken away.
correct. Yeah.
From a bicycle accident.
So I thought, because I was like,
Well, that part of your life, yes.
yeah. And that was the thing. I was just like, yeah, all this stuff. I'm like, finally feel like I'm lost all this weight. Okay, I've learned this new thing and I'm getting into this whole, what do you call it, like environment. Oh, and now I'm learning how to cycle and I'm meeting some cool people. Whoa, this is cool. But, oh, sorry. But then, yeah, it was just, how do you say, all of a sudden I'm like, what's going on? Well, I should say, I didn't know what had happened. I'm like, I was in the hospital in a coma for 10 days. Doctor said at least 3 months, so hey, that's good. But then when I woke up, I had, what do they call it, post-traumatic amnesia. I didn't know what was going on, and I kept, how do you forget? Oh, so,
How did the accident happen?
hey, so,
let me, because it'll be briefer.
oh gosh, see, what is this? Okay.
It's called KISS, right?
Well, yes.
So she was on a training ride for AIDS Life Cycle. They had gone about 60 miles that day. And of course, in the San Francisco area, a lot of hills. So it seemed, or it was, the entire ride was pretty much all uphill.
Yeah, yeah. So we're 2 miles from the end.
So got to the almost at the end, and they were at the top of a hill, and everybody wanted to take a break before going down, which would then end the ride. And Aubrey was anxious to go down and left without. And of course, at this point, nobody knows what happened. You don't remember, and nobody saw it. You think either something ran out in front of you and you braked and went over the handlebars, or you hit something in the road. But either way, over the handlebars, and that's when you landed on your head.
Correct. Yeah, but I did have a helmet on.
Thank God.
So, but, and another side note, they made what is called MIPS, and I forget what it's called, but basically it helps cushion your head. Anyways, we can get all into that, but it was right before that was a thing.
That was in the helmet. You're talking about
Correct.
construction.
So definitely get MIPS from now on. But because my head got violently shaken, I had 3 strokes in the back. I had hit right here, so I had a big old knot here that I tried to get everybody to cut out because it drove me nuts. But nobody did. But so it hit there, but then when it went and shook, I had 3 strokes in the back of my head, and crazy. So I guess that's maybe what did it anyways.
Combination. But when I first met Aubrey, one of the things she had said, we were in a group setting, it was a PFLAG. You made the comment that you were damaged goods. And I think you made that as much about whatever deficiencies you have as a result of the TBI, but also because you know that the life you had and the life you had built was taken away from you.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of times it sometimes, and maybe I look at it wrong, but it saddens me sometimes when I see you looking at pictures of your previous life. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I wasn't in it, or that I even think that you're not the least bit happy now, but it concerns me that you think less of yourself or less of a person because you're different than you were prior to the accident. And yes, you are different.
Yeah.
But everything we go through in our life changes us and makes us all different.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, you're a good person. You're a capable person. You're more than a capable person. And one of the notes that I had made, memories are wonderful. And you can look back on memories with fondness. You can look back on your memories with regret. We all have each in our memories. But is there a fine line between looking back in those memories with a sense of what was and those memories bringing joy versus allowing those memories to affect how you feel about yourself now? And that's what I don't want you to do. And that's what I'm afraid. That's how I see it. And I don't know how clear that was.
Yeah.
But
by the way, hey Melissa. So still trying to work out why your comments don't come up over here. Okay. But I think that's sweet, firstly. And that's sweet that you think I was capable and all that. I'm like, dude, listen to my voice. I'm like, I sound like a baby. I'm like,
you don't sound like a baby. You sound like Aubrey. And I tell you that over and over again.
Yeah, well,
I just don't want you to use whatever your successes were prior. Everything that you achieved prior were astonishing, phenomenal. But what you have achieved since your accident, there's no comparison.
really.
That's where your success is. And that's what you should focus on, because you want to talk about recreating. I mean, you didn't have a choice.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, you did. Yeah, because some people would take this as a means of just giving up.
Yeah.
And you didn't.
Well, like, yeah, I could have. I've heard many people just sit on the couch, drink beer, and get back. But
And it's hard not to. I mean, you took a huge kick in the teeth with your accident.
yeah,
To have, something so dramatic and traumatic happen to you. But you've got to make a choice then at that point in time or at some point afterwards. Do I let it rule me or do I rule it? Because only you can change the course of your life.
right, yeah,
And you have the power to make it either a good life or a bad life.
you are correct. Yeah, I'm like, but that is definitely I was how do you say like stuck because I'm like, well, when you go through a transformation like I had. Like, I had just recreated myself, and I've done all this, and I figured I'd done. Oh, well, thank you. Right, as usual.
I mean, Holly makes a good point. I am right as usual.
Oh, let's not get crazy.
Holly knows me well.
But, yes. Oh, gosh. So, I had just gone through this stuff. I just, achieved all my dreams-ish, and I'm like, I done all this stuff, and now I'm like, dun, and nothing. I'm like,
But for everybody, I mean, yours was huge, and for you, it was traumatic, and I can't imagine what it's like going through that. But for some people, it's as simple as a divorce changes their life forever, and they feel like lost. What are they going to do now? How are they going to survive? Will they survive? So many things can affect your life negatively that you can use as a crutch or as an excuse not to just get up and go again. And it's not fun and it's not easy.
yeah,
But do you really have a choice?
yeah. Well, I think that's the thing is, how do you say? I finally got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I thought I was damaged goods, so I'm like, well, crap. But I wanted to help others. I'm like, because, well, I'm a weirdo. I always wanted to help others. I'm like trying to do this and that. Even as I finally learned how to code and stuff, I'd always help other people, like those who were wanting to get into it but not sure and did this and that. And, so there's that. And also, I think fun thing, I got to go to the White House for a innovation and tech conference, and talk and spitball about how to help others come into technology. And I thought that was so cool under Obama. But anyways.
But even everything that you accomplished, who's to say if the accident didn't happen, if that would still be your life?
Yeah. Well, that is true because, yeah, I remember you talk about anxiety. I'm like, I think I was kind of an anxious person myself. But now I'm like, hey, good drugs. But, so I just.
Prescribed.
Oh, yes, by the way. But I always worried about, oh crap, what if I lose my job? Then I have to move in with my parents. I'm like, and they were just getting to a place where they had retired and they were doing the thing. I'm like, I can't interrupt their retirement parade. But I did in a different way. So I'm like, that, well, kind of funny. The one thing that you were so afraid of happening happens, but it's a good thing. I don't know. I'm like, because yeah, it would have been, oh well.
Yeah.
So,
but still, my biggest thing is not to stay stuck with what you had. I mean, because you had mentioned when we first met that your goal was to move back to San Francisco.
yeah,
and I know in your mind, moving back to San Francisco would be things would just pick up where you left off.
yeah,
And even if you hadn't had the accident and you just moved away for a short span of time and then went back, it's not going to be the same. The expression is you can't go home again. And whether it's your physical home or a life you had in the past, going back, it's never going to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my point is, quit going back. It's gone.
Yeah.
Learn from it.
Yeah.
Enjoy the memories you have from it,
Yeah.
but don't be stuck there.
Yeah.
Live here, live now, and plan for your future. And relish the success you had prior to your accident. But more so, you've had great accomplishments since then, bigger accomplishments since then.
Mm-hmm.
So keep going forward.
Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome.
This is what my dad constantly said, and it irritated me because, yes, I have a tendency. I'm like, oh, it was so great, and I do, but tend to, like, look back and be like, that was awesome. Like, I feel like I did it. Like, whoa. And so now.
Well, be proud of that point. You did it.
Yeah. Well, and now I'm like, thankfully it's different. I do believe it's better, and I've always said that. It's now, since past couple months. Anyways, I married you, and I have a daughter, our daughter.
Right.
I'm like, oh, and we have a house now. I'm like, I am so thankful now that it happened, as messed up as that is, but I'm still trying to get over. I'm like, dude, just my talking.
Well, and that's just it. When something that traumatic happens, I mean, there's, you go, it's like a death in a way, just like divorce is a death in a way. Losing a job can be a death in a way. And there's stages that you go through emotionally handling those. Anger is definitely one of them. And there's no reason not to be angry or to be sad about what had happened. But it's just a matter of not letting that anger and sadness of what was be what guides you in the here and now and what lies ahead in the future.
Yeah.
Use your anger and sadness as a learning tool, but not as what you live by.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I know, and that's the thing. I'm like, I am glad the accident happened. I don't want it to happen to anyone else. But, yeah, it's, how do you even say? Yeah, recreating yourself again. Like, that's what I feel like I'm trying to figure out. I'm like, I don't know. What do I do?
But we all do that. I had a child at 40, and I was single.
Yeah.
And that was an immediate, I have got to recreate myself because now I'm responsible for another life.
Yeah.
And I was terrified.
Yeah.
But you find a way deep within you to get through whatever it is you're going through, or you give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having a child, to me, was an easy decision. You can't give up. I didn't have a choice, Yeah. And you have chosen not to give up.
Yeah. It's a bit of a, what do you call it, shit show sometimes. But.
And you have some limitations now as a result of your accident, but we all face limitations of some sort throughout our lives. And there's a way to either learn to live without some of the things you can't do. Are they really that big of an issue or not? And with the way the world is now, particularly with technology, you can do just about anything you want to do. There are really and truly no limitations except for what you put on yourself.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I'm like, oh, I'm a bit of a hot mess, but I'm trying, and like I said, good drugs. I'm just like, things roll off my back a bit more or easier. But hey there, by the way, Stacy. I'm sorry, cannot put it on here. Oh, I'm list again. But it is a, what do you call it? A process of recreating yourself again.
Right.
Like, obviously there's no comparison to now versus then. Like, for me is, how do you say, so different, and well, everything's so different. I vowed I would never move back to the South. And then I'm in Georgia. Wait, what? And,
Never say never, regardless of what's going on,
well,
because those words will come back and haunt you.
that is true. But well, hence I'm learning. But
Well, let me ask you this. Any words of advice or any experiences that you can share on how you went about overcoming your accident? I mean, I know you went through a lot of therapy, physical
yeah,
and speech therapy. I mean, you had to relearn everything.
Yeah, that is true. So, yep, something succinct. I know you'd love that. Maybe
Yes.
you should. I know. I'm like, yep, I'm a creative. Oh, do all the things. And she's
I'm
very
like,
much,
to the point. Let's just get to the point.
yep, total Virgo. Boom, boom, boom. But hey, the house is clean. Always. Anyways, yeah. Unfortunately, that's the thing. I don't have a succinct. This is it. I mean,
What
ultimately,
motivated you
what motivated me?
to get back out to San Francisco? Was that a big motivating factor for you to go through all the therapy that you had to go through and all the struggles that you had to go through? Was that what?
I don't know if it was getting back out there. I mean, I wanted to get back to that moment of having friends and like being a part of something. Like maybe that was it. Like I wasn't alone. I was a part of something. And that something was doing good, so I was able to help while doing that. And so, how do you say? Well, I guess that's kind of the initial thing-ish, but more than that, now looking and saying, okay, why do I do what I do? I'm like, thankfully I had some plans that changed, and I'm thankful. But, it's like, what do you want in
So just
life?
find a new direction
Well,
or a
yeah,
new passion.
basically it's like maybe take a step back and think, what do you really want to do? I know that may sound kind of silly, and now I'm like, oh crap, I need to think about this some more. But if you notice, I have these guitars and keyboard back here, and music is a big thing, but I was always scared of doing music because what if I failed? Then I wouldn't make any money. Then I'd have to move back in with my parents. It's like all this stuff. I can do that now. And I'm like, but I messed up. My hand doesn't work. I mean, but well, there'll just have to be another way around it. I'm just crap and I have to get better. It's like, so for me, I can't say, unfortunately, a succinct, this is it, but basically the core of who you are and what you do, like, what do you desire in life?
Do you feel like you live a lot of times in your head in the past or no?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I will say I live in my head way too much.
Yeah, with your overthinking.
I
everything.
overthink everything, but I'm
Yes.
trying to get better. But I think it's gotten better about like going back because I realized, well, there's no thing. Oh, and Aaron's calling. So, hey, Aaron, I would get on here, but you probably won't like that. Anyways, so it is kind of hard, being like, I look back and I'm like, that would have been cool. But then, actually, I think it's kind of funny. I don't know if I'm going to be a jerk for saying this, but I'm like, well, we're in this whole pandemic. So, a lot of my friends have moved out of San Francisco. And anyway, so that would have been a whole thing in and of itself.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's their lives are different now.
correct. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, it's kind of good for me. I like to just stay inside and do my thing. So, but yeah, so in my head, yes, all the time. Looking back, not really anymore.
No.
Yeah. So, but I'm thankful. And, I feel like I have things in the future for me now.
Well, I hope you feel that way.
Well, yes.
I'm in those plans.
You gotta be. But no, I'm like, I have a wife, I have a daughter, I have a future.
You have a whole completely different life than what you had 5 years ago.
Correct. Yeah, I'm like,
Guess what?
what?
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet everybody out there could say, go back 5 years and say, oh, yeah, my life's a lot different
Yeah.
than it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I do believe. Yep, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we'll ask you to do. Go back
5 years.
5 years. Where were you? What were you doing? What was going on?
And how different is your life now versus how you thought it would be or the direction it was taking 5 years ago?
Yeah. Wow. And it's kind of, I do believe, going to be interesting to see because, yep, I did not think I'd be here. I mean, not a clue.
Yeah,
But-
I can't. I don't know what I envisioned 5 years ago for me. Because at that point, 5 years ago, I was still taking care of my stepdad who had dementia.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was so focused on him that I think I just thought day to day at that point.
Yeah.
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 Didn't seem like there was going to be a future.
Oh, I think she has something first to do. Adopt a little boy.
I have one for you. Oh, I bet you do. I bet you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, no.
Yeah. Sorry, we can blame it on me. I've said no more pets, and I guess
Well, she's
I'll
talking
extend
about a
that.
child.
Well, I know. No more pets, no more kids.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing more in the house.
It's like I always
Except
told
for
Lucy.
guitars.
I only
What?
had one child because I didn't want to.
Well, see, there you go. I'm like, now I wonder. I'm like, but no, I was number one. Okay, anyways.
You're always number one, baby.
Hey, check that out. But yes, it's recreating yourself again is how should we say, a bit interesting.
I think it's a challenge that everybody should face. Not have an accident or anything like that, but I mean, I think you should think daily, because recreating can also be looked at as just as improving yourself.
Yep, yep,
You know?
that is true.
And that's something we should all strive for every day.
Yep, yep, that is true. Yep. See, all this stuff, I couldn't think about all that. Just let it happen.
Exactly.
Gosh, it's nuts. But, yep. So, anyways, thank you so much for tuning in, checking it out. And remember, well, take 5 years, or think back 5 years, do your homework, and see where you were, what was going on, who was in your life, and just where are you today? I think that's good, kind of. What?
Just Aaron's comment.
Oh, called you in the middle. Yep, you did. And see, I showed it. But, oh boy. So there we go. So just remember.
Oh, we love you too, Aaron.
Oh, yep. And she's great.
That's Aubrey's sister, by the way.
Yep. And I've interviewed her. I
Yes,
think, yeah, on
you
here
did.
before.
Mhm.
So,
Oh, that's a
and
very good
yep.
idea. Very good idea.
Yep.
Not laughing at you, Aaron. Like I tell Aubrey, we're laughing with you.
Gosh. Hey, wait. What? Not at, with.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, totally with. All right. Well, overall, remember, do your homework. 5 years ago, where were you? What was going on?
And every morning, say 3 things that you're grateful for.
Well, there you go. And remember, you matter. Your story matters. And you belong here.
You belong
Cheers.
here.
You belong here.
Oh, you stole that from me.
Well, maybe I did. Okay. See ya.
Bye.